Hello, my name is John Reynolds and welcome to Extraordinary Life Stories. On this episode, I'm talking with Callie Jane. Callie is a model, television personality and entrepreneur who rose to fame as one of the standout contestants on the first season of Love Island. Following her time on Love Island, Callie transitioned into a successful modelling career and established herself as a businesswoman, launching ventures in beauty and wellness. She's also been an advocate for mental health awareness, drawing from her own experiences to inspire and support others. I'm talking to Callie fresh after receiving an award as Activist of the Year, so I'm looking forward to learning more about that. Let's get into it. Callie, thank you for joining me.
You're welcome, no problem.
I've been looking forward to this.
Good.
Tell me, who is Callie Jane?
She is an empathetic soul, I think, and a hopeless romantic at heart.
Love that.
Yeah.
Take me back to a young Callie. Who and what influenced you early in your kind of career journey?
I grew up singing, dancing, acting, going to dance class since I was 6. Later went on into my teenage to do a bit of like beauty pageants, and I loved everything girly, makeup, hairspray, pretty dresses. My mum was always taking me left, right and centre, travelling to Royal Ballet and York Scholars and all these really good opportunities I think I had when I was a kid.
So you get to see everything then.
Yeah.
Was there anything you aspired to want to do from being interested in all of that and then seeing what you can do?
I kind of wanted to act when I was very young. I accidentally fell into a bit of acting from doing, local pantomimes and things like that when I was young, and then went into getting a role in Heartbeat when I was about 16. Do you remember the programme?
I do.
And I'd never had any acting experience or anything. They just kind of approached the drama musical theatre school that I was at, and I was more dancing then. But they said, we think you would really suit this role. Do you want to go? And I thought, do you know what, why not? I kind of fancied a bit of acting and went for the audition and secured the role. And it was a lead part and I really enjoyed that. But I was so young, so I couldn't pursue it as much after because I was in school still and I lived up north, which is so far from London. The castings was always in London. So, I had to kind of pause that. But it's still something I think I found really interesting.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love going to like movie premieres now and seeing like the personal actors up close and what their real lives must be like.
Do you still have aspirations to do the movies and
acting?
acting?
Yeah, do you know what? I think I've always said someone says, what's one of the one things you would love to do? I'd love to be in a scary movie.
A scary movie?
One of them people that gets killed off first or something like that, a really ditzy one. I'd either be that or I'd be like a Tomb Raider survivor, but I've always kind of said I'd love to, before I pass in my late life, I'd like to think I could be in a scary movie.
Strange things have happened. I reckon that could be coming your way.
It could, you never know, watch this space.
But you were the original Love Island crew cast.
Series 1, yeah.
Series 1. Tell me about that and how it came to be. And also, anything new always has that whole risk, like it could flop, it could not be. I mean, we know now it's a huge series.
Yeah.
But in the first, what was that all like?
Well, it was about 10 years ago now, which seems crazy. But it was an interesting experience because it was the first one. I didn't really know what I was kind of getting myself involved with. I dated a guy for a little bit who was already casted for the show. And then when he went on the show, I was actually in between jobs. I used to be a dental nurse and my surgery practice got taken over by the NHS and I didn't want to be in a busy one, so I just started to look for private dentistry work. So I didn't have a job at the time. It just so happened that week I got a phone call saying, we understand, you've dated this person before, then I want our show. Have you ever thought about being involved? Would you like to come on? And it was just a bit of a random phone call. I thought it was a bit of a prank at first. And then, it happened really quick. The next day I was in London filming straight through into the villa at the time. And it was really quick, happened within like 24 hours, kind of by accident. And I didn't really realise how big it was, but I always remember a significant moment being in like the buggies that take you up to the villa and someone on the radio saying, we've just peaked and beat the ratings of Coronation Street on ITV Hub, which was like huge at the time. So I remember thinking, oh God, what have I got myself in for here? Like seems like it's going to be a big show. And that's like one moment I always remember. But it was a breath of fresh air because there was no social media in there. You didn't really have, contact with the outside world, as you know now. And when we came out, I think I had about 70,000 followers. And back then, 10 years ago, 70,000 followers was a lot, because that was just like the peak and start of social media. And I remember going to Oxford Street and just thinking I could just go shopping on Oxford Street. And it was like, I know, everybody was like hounding. Yeah, it was very, very life-changing.
Did you like that? Because as the girl growing up singing and dreaming of being
I didn't mind it. I think that was because I felt like people related to me very well. I was everything myself on there. I wasn't trying to be a character, and because it was the very first show, people didn't know what was going on or how to play the game or how people can win the show. Like now people say, well, people's got game plans and people's faking. And back then, like everything that happened, we was like the guinea pig series. So no one really knew what was going on or how to play a game. It just was...
Probably the best one to have been on, right? Because
exactly.
you were yourself.
Exactly.
Which actually gave you authenticity, and probably where this whole... Because you've got an amazing community of followers that know you.
Yeah.
And of course, you've been through, we'll come to that, all sorts of different milestones, if you like, and things in your life. But at that moment in time, people were coming up to you in the street as Callie, not as an actress in the scary movie sort of thing, but recognise you. They felt like they knew you.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I think that's what people liked. I think now on the show, you have to... There's a lot more in place, like people dress up to go sit in the garden, and I always found like that the weirdest thing, because I remember 9 times out of 10, I had a towel on my head and I was rocking around in the garden, having something to eat and just being myself and shoving my joggers on. But like now it's very, everybody gets dressed up and they go in the garden and they cheers and they have wine and they go off and have the chats. That to me, I find
it's not authentic.
Not as natural, because why am I getting dressed up to sit in my garden? Who's doing that? So yeah, I'm glad that I was on that one, where it just felt a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it's like now.
Well, obviously the success of the show has allowed it to, and you were part of that.
Yeah.
Did you know what a platform you built for yourself? There's 70,000 followers that has grown into a lot more, and gave you again that platform to do stuff. At what point did you kind of harness that and then embrace it and kind of flourish?
I think, to be honest, it was a bit of a strange journey, because, like I said back then, no one really told you how to navigate a social media space. I wasn't coming out to, big clothing deals with brands and things like they do now. And it was very, very different. It was kind of like you've come off TV, you're thrust into this reality world. Even having the social platform was nice, but I kind of didn't really have any guidance on, what I'm meant to do. Like, what do I post? What do I speak about? What do I don't speak about? I'd just been used to being like a normal person, and all of a sudden having, thousands of eyes on you asking questions and, knowing so much about your life that just seems like your personal life, but everybody knows about it and everybody wants to know about it. So it was kind of a difficult journey, but I did have, a couple of people that was already in the industry that kind of I felt comfortable to reach out to, like, should I do this? Am I meant to do that? Should I be going to this job? Should I not take that? And that was really supportive. So I think that helped a lot. And I think always staying myself, that was what got me the following in the first place. That was to just be authentic and be real about my journey, and everything that was happening to me I always kind of was open and honest about. So I think that helped just build a bit more trust, and my following's predominantly female, so I'd like to think they're all behind me in that sense.
That's the feeling I get as someone that knew I was going to be talking with you today, to have been following you for a certain amount of time and then going back on kind of backstories and reading about you. It's very clear that you've got a following that love you and know you. You haven't tried to be anything different.
No.
And it sounds like you got good advice at the time, because I imagine it could have been quite overwhelming. And potentially, I think we know it's overwhelming for other people that have come out of the show and other kind of reality TV, or just becoming famous overnight. It can actually be quite crushing. Whereas it feels like you've embraced that.
Yes.
And I guess it's because you can just be yourself. And then actually that's allowed you to, be an activist, for example. And on the back of just being activist of the year, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Very randomly, accidentally fell into that space, but
wow, let's talk about it. I mean, let's reverse engineer that to why you were voted activist of the year. You know, you were a victim of deep faking.
Yeah.
So maybe explain to anyone watching this thing what that is, and then your own story with that.
Yeah. So it kind of just presented itself, and I wasn't aware I was aware of AI technology, but I wasn't aware of the dangers of AI. And somebody contacted me one day and said, oh, there's this image of you, I've seen it. And I said, that can't be correct because I've not ever exposed these areas. I said, I've worked with lots of brands in the time. I'm a woman and we're entitled to feel sexy and do our lingerie shoots and things like that. But I knew I hadn't ever exposed myself like that. So I said, this can't be correct. And they was like, it's on the internet. And I said, please, can you send me the link? And they did. And I opened it and it was me. And I was naked completely, but the female parts was superimposed in my place, and I knew exactly what image it was. It was from a lounge underwear campaign that I'd done a couple of years back. The picture was in my old house, and it had obviously been put into an app that I was unaware how it had kind of been generated at the time. But you can take images of people, put them into apps and websites, and AI can strip the clothes and superimpose on body parts. Somebody done that, put it on the internet as a leaked nude image saying that it was me. So obviously I was in complete panic because I thought, when you're a bit you don't really know whether to laugh or cry, because I was kind of looking at these parts thinking that's really random and it was so far from me and how I know my body. I was just shocked and instantly went into panic and took to my social media and I was like, guys, this has just happened. I've just seen this. Somebody sent me it. It's on this site, they're advertising it as a, undress any celeb, undress any girl, and people could actually go onto that site and put a picture of anybody in there.
It's a real violation, right?
A real violation. And it was shocking, but I kind of asked my followers for what do I do? I didn't know this is a thing.
So you engaged them straight away?
Yeah, because there was so many people who actually came to me, and then I realised, okay, this is a problem, because there was a lot of people who said, this has happened to me, this has happened to this person. Somebody had even showed me or trusted me with images that had been done of them and sent them to me and said, look, this was my 16th birthday image and she's got a full gown on, a full dress. And then she sent me a photo. It's exactly the same picture, stood in a bedroom by a radiator, no clothes on. Wow. And I was like, oh my God, and she was 16. And then I heard of a girl that was 14 years old that actually took her own life because she was bullied. It was used as a bullying tactic and sent around school. And that's when I thought, oh my God.
My dad had two teenage daughters, 13 and 15.
It's a lot. And I thought that must have been really, really scary. And at that age, how do you approach this conversation with your parents that maybe don't understand AI technology and have that old view to then kind of go, there's this naked image of me, which looks completely real. You must be scared of how they're going to react, and they're going to be like, why have you done this? And it must be so frightening. And to hear that happened, I kind of thought, wow, I've got a 7-year-old daughter and I need to do something about this. What do I do?
Fair play to you.
I went to the police, and it was a very grey area, they said to me. So I said, well, there was so is this a real image? And I said, no, it's me. Yes, it's a real image of me, but no, this isn't my real parts. And they was like, oh, okay. And it was only that I've really got a female police officer that was really sympathetic to the situation that said, let me see what I can do. And she started wriggling into the legal side of it. And it kind of turned out that they could have done more if it was a real image of me, because I wanted to know who'd created it, who had gone onto this app, put this picture of me in, purposely for a reason, because, they didn't just keep it to themselves, they put it back onto the internet as, here's a leaked nude of this person, which was false. So in my head, I was like, I want to find out who's done this, I want to track the IP address, I want them to be prosecuted for this should not be allowed. And it was kind of a bit like, oh, well, all we can really do is email the site and ask them to take it down. And I was like, right. And they said, we don't. I said, well, what if they don't? And they said, well, we don't really have the jurisdiction because it was a global site. So I was like, but I'm a UK citizen and I'm asking for your help. So if you as the police can't do anything, what about that 14-year-old girl? Do you know what I mean? So I kind of thought, what am I meant to do? You're saying we can't really help, but I had my management, people all helping me, emailing the site at the same time saying, you need to take this person's profile down that you've created with this nude image. It's complete violation of privacy. It's not correct. Luckily, they took it down, but there's no prosecution for that.
So what's it? There's no punishment?
There was no punishment. So I said...
And yet someone took their own life on the back of this thing happening, right?
Exactly. And I said, what is to stop somebody the next day going and taking another picture, doing it again, and putting it back on the internet. And this was months. Like, this was months of me dealing with, like, emailing Google, emailing the site, speaking with Ofcom to find out what we can kind of do about this to eventually get it taken down. But to be put up again in a split second, it was kind of like, how do you stop that happening again? Couldn't. So that's when I thought, right, I need to help with some change.
So where do we stand now? I mean, what you've done there is it's brilliant. It's the Wild West out there, right? You know, that the internet is known for that, but that violation of your privacy, that's bullying potentially, not necessarily for you, but certainly for the girl that took her own life. There's so many connotations there and no punishment.
Yeah.
Is there a goal now you're working towards to try and actually get legislation in place and accountability? Yeah.
So I'd worked quite a lot and extensively with Glamour for pushing for a campaign, because it wasn't just about a change of the law or tweaking to the law. It's now campaigning for a completely new law, which is an image-based abuse law, which we're on the cusps of. There's a lot of people fighting for it, and a lot of people are hearing a bit more about it. There's a lot of documentaries and things at the moment that are being created to create more awareness and push for the protection of the women and girls, because I've not seen it happen to any men, which is interesting. I don't know if the AI technology they've been able to generate so far can do that, but again,
the way
it's
going, right?
Exactly.
Everything's game.
So it's
putting
very
a law
dangerous.
in place now is to try and eliminate it.
And it isn't just images; it's videos now as well, which you probably know about. That, you know, there's pornographic sites that people have their face superimposed on, and it looks so realistic. It's scary. People's voices are getting, you know, AI'd and copied, and it's a bit frightening. So they do need to act on it fast.
Yeah, because I think we can both agree. Like, someone could be watching this in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, and almost chuckling. Like, you know, the sort of the assumption that what they could do to what potentially is going to happen. So you've got to put these preventions in place now, because AI is just only going to get more sophisticated.
Yeah. And it's too late for some people, and you know.
Yeah, that's what's so sad.
Yeah, some people, like I said, that have taken their own life, or people that can't get justice from a situation. I've always liked to have found out who did that and why they did that, and that won't be able for me, because obviously it's before hopefully a law comes into place. But I would just like to know that, you know, people are protected moving forward, and especially children, because there's no age limit on these images that they're putting into these sites, and I think that's even scarier.
I mean, you turn something really negative and horrible that's happened to you into, I don't want to say positive, but into certainly a positive movement.
Yeah.
And activation of something that will help undoubtedly countless people. How have you sort of coped almost mentally through that? And I know that your mental health is something I wanted to talk to you about, because you've been through a number of different kind of key milestones, and this is probably the most recent one.
Yeah.
But talking to you now, you are totally present. You're again authentic. How have you managed your mental health and prioritised it through your life?
I feel like my family and the people around me are a huge importance of, like, your mental health and your support. My fiance DJ now, he's like the most supportive person I've ever come across, and I always think back to maybe putting myself in the position where a deepfake come out with maybe a previous partner, and I don't think I would have had as much as the same sympathetic response that he had, and, you know, the empathy that he had, and the support that, you know, if he was like, right, you want to go to the police? Okay, let's go to the police. He was just very present in that moment, and I think that's so underrated, like having someone that's present and like, it's okay, and I've got your back, and I'm on this journey with you, and you're not on your own. That, I think, is an underrated thing. My family was really understanding and really supportive of it. So yeah, I think your relationships around that time of things happening and trauma is a real key to the mental health and the recovery of, you know, situations like that.
It's lovely, because I've seen a lot of your social posts with DJ, and it's a very visible, radiating love, which again just brings that authenticity in.
Yeah.
Away from the people around you, though, have you got any coping mechanisms? Have you got anything that works for you? And I wanted to bring in the sort of the physical fitness side of things as well, which I know is really important to you, which of course helps the mindset.
Yeah.
What do you do and what works for you?
I'm going to say, like, recently I've started running, and I will laugh because I can't run very far, and a lot of people think I have a very extensive fitness routine, and I don't. I'm quite, I think I just have a fast metabolism, or it's like, genetics, but I've started to, for my mental health and for, just that headspace to not think about anything else when work can be overwhelming, or you can, even just being your ladies' time of the month and you luteal face and you feel really down, like even just 10 minutes, I've been running literally round the block, a mile. I'm not trying to do a marathon or anything like that. That's all I can really do at the moment. I enjoy it, and I put my headphones in, and I think that's just 10 minutes to just not have to think about anything but the music in my ears, the air outside, the breathing, and something as small as that sometimes give me like such a sense of achievement at the end of the day. Even if I've had one of them days where I feel a little bit like glum and I don't really want to do much and I don't want to go out and I kind of just want to cozy by the fire, just that 10-minute run before I go to bed, I feel like, I did a mile run today and I felt good doing it, and that is enough sometimes.
They say walking is the best exercise for you, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how far you walk,
Exactly.
it's just getting out and having fresh air. I'm actually the same with running. I don't run so far anymore, but it's the principle. And it's working a bit of a puff.
Yeah.
And you get the fresh air, you get the endorphins from it. If it's a mile, if it's 2 miles, I think some people feel that they're going to go for a run, they've got to do it justice.
Exactly.
And that's not the point,
And this
right?
is kind of why I took to my social media, because I wanted some kind of accountability for the fact that I was doing it. So when I first put it up and I was like, guys, I'm going to go for a run. I was like, what? You don't run? But it was that nice accountability that everyone's like, oh, this is really good. And I got loads of support from it. I was quite overwhelmed, even though I only did like a mile. People was like, this is really good that like you're doing this for your headspace, and let us know how you get on and keep going at it. And it's like that little supportive community from the outside is nice,
Yeah. And what about a bit of juggling here? So you fit the run in before you go to bed. Do you have a morning routine? And I know that you're juggling being a mum, a career, all sorts of different things coming at you. And we talked earlier, I was going to ask you what you want to do next. What's kind of the next chapter? And being on the radio is a passion. But how do you fit all this in?
Just wing it, I think. I think we're all winging it in some kind of way. We all have our little things that start the day. Mine is getting up. I always make the bed before I go downstairs. We'll never not make the bed, because I think if you make the bed right, you're starting off your day good. So make the bed, I go down, I have a coffee, and I just sit at the table in just my piece. Usually me and DJ, just a little 5-minute chat before I actually get ready. Get Vienna sorted for school, brush through her thick hair, because she's got so much hair, so that takes a long time. But yeah, that's kind of how it starts off. Drop her at school, and then I come back and I always have a little bit of a list in my notes on my phone. I like to write little small lists of things that I need to do, otherwise I get quite distracted sometimes, or I can sit and be speaking to this person as a work conversation and then somebody else, and I should have done that, and then I end up going back to that because I forgot to do that, and I have to have a little tick off list. I think that's something that keeps my structure very well. Yeah.
I totally agree with that. And just think about that whole scenario of how you've grown your following, your community, and they sort of feel like they know you. There's a lot of negatives associated around social media. So, for example, as a dad to 13 and 15-year-old daughters that consume TikTok and that kind of spend, in my opinion, too much time on there.
Yeah.
You have become a creator. You have a sort of a relationship with social media where you are putting out positive messages, putting out authentic messages.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to sort of gravitate being a mum with your daughter, and what is the relationship currently with her and anything social media and phone, and where do you think that will go? Because you're in probably the minority of being a creator. You're not probably doom scrolling. It's not a negative experience for you. So many other people it can be. Comparisons, judgment.
Yeah.
So where do you sit with that?
I do think it is quite a problem. I think the whole, scrolling for the sake of it, and it is something I don't actually do. I do go on there to do, what I want to share, what I want to say, and I don't try and engross myself too much in what everybody else is doing. As much as I will support other people's journeys, if you find yourself just flicking for the sake of seeing something or looking at what other people are doing, it can have quite an emotional effect on you, and you don't really realise why, but it's because you're not really engaging in much positive. But I think doing little things in our house, like when we have dinner, we don't pick up our phones. Like, phones are down. I've got 2 teenage stepsons, 17 and 15. So my daughter Vienna's obviously seeing them active with their socials and their friends and what they're doing. And, she's 7 and she asks when she's having a phone. And I'm like, no chance. Like for
This
as
is where I was
long
going
as
with it.
possible,
Yeah.
you will not, because you lose that engagement in, you know, people and conversations. And
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it myself. Like sometimes I can get overwhelmed with work and, you know, DJ has to go to me, right, film time, put it down. And I'm like, no, it's right. And I always do. You have to have those moments to just connect with people, because you see these things on, you know, social media, and it is so true. We can be so engrossed in our phones that we kind of miss present and what's right in front of us. And I think I always try and cook a dinner so we all sit down as a family and have a dinner on a night. And I think that's just
sacred time.
Yeah, it's just that time. And it might be something so small, but I enjoy setting the table out for us all to sit down and have dinner. Not be on our phones and be present and talk about the day. And it's those small moments I think you need to remember and make it important for, you know, your little ones. Vienna started to read quite a bit, and I've only just started reading. I've read my first fictional book, and I feel very proud of myself. But again, it's like acting by association, isn't it, as well? Like, I want her to see that I'm not just on my phone, even though she knows I work from my phone, and I said, this is what mummy does, and she does a lot of work from her phone, and it can be great, but I want her to see that I have this other side. And like last night, we had a little relaxed time in bed, and she went and got one of her books, and I was like, right, we're gonna sit and read, me and you. So we sat in bed quiet. She sat reading her Jacqueline Wilson book, and I'm sat reading mine. And she wants to do kind of what I'm doing, because she's still at that age.
Kids do what you do, not what you say as parents,
exactly.
right?
So I think like it's such a key
Yeah.
that I'm trying to get into the reading, and I've read through my first book. And DJ last night was like, I'm really proud of you, read through your first fictional book. And I was like, yeah, and I've just brought another one on the way here from the train station, and I'm going to read that one. But I want to get into those things that I feel like are peace for your mind. Like as you get older, it is about peace for your mind and your family and your happiness. And I think if you can do that, then you can't go far wrong, to be honest.
No, you explained it really well as well. I think that was where I was going with it, is like, again, kids do what you do, and your daughter is going to be more and more available on social media and see her mum on there.
Yeah.
And then challenge the whole, well, if you're on there and you're on your phone,
why can't
I be? And I just want to know.
And I think as well, it's like the dangers of the world. And look at all this, you know, this AI thing that we spoke about. Like, there's not enough safety there at the moment. There isn't enough. I mean, as much as you get, you know, the social platforms and people saying, oh, we're doing everything that we can do, I just think it's still not safe enough for people. And, you know, all sorts that goes on, and, you know, racism and bullying and things like that. And I just think I don't want her to be, you know, insecure about herself before she's even realised who she is.
So well put.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so well put. And I think you as a mum and your maturity and your lived experience of everything is huge for her.
Yeah.
You know, she'll be able to learn so much from you about using it as a positive and looking out for things, because some people are just left to their own devices. It's just given a smartphone and off they go. And then that doom scroll and that comparison, that judgment can funnel down a negative, which you will quite simply not allow to happen.
No.
But that's a whole separate conversation.
Yeah.
I talked a minute ago about the aspirations to go on the radio. I want to know where that's come from and what you're doing about it.
So I recently recorded a demo reel for radio, just because I feel like it's naturally been a space I've gravitated towards. I've always loved my music growing up. I sang a little bit myself. I kind of realised it wasn't really the path for me. It was maybe an aspiration a long time ago that I was kind of holding on to, but like my life changed, you know. I met DJ, my circumstances changed, how I was, you know, very happy in my present life. And the industry just wasn't for me as a singer or as an artist. But I've always loved my music. And being a content creator, I solely work for myself. I'm at home all the time, I'm working by myself, and it can be quite a lonely space. And I really thought about reaching people more and chatting to more people and being a little bit more
interactive.
Yeah, in a sense that, you know, I do stuff on my social media, and sometimes, you know, you hear me talk now and then on like a reel or a story, for instance, but not actually just genuinely with other people about things that aren't anything to do with me in my social media. It could be somebody that, you know, rings up on the radio. So that was very appealing to me, to maybe come away from my home content space, go into a radio studio, chat with people, you know, the music that I'm playing. I still love my music, I always have. So that just felt like where I want to be and where I want to move towards. So yeah, that's something that I will be pushing for constantly at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we know it'll happen. It's just
Yeah,
a question of
fingers
when and
crossed.
how you started
Yeah, fingers
it.
crossed I can get there.
Definitely. I'm sure you will. Sitting here now, there's a lot of things you've achieved and been successful
Yeah.
in and with. Sitting here now, how would you define success?
It's a difficult one because I think for me, success is really just being happy. And I know it sounds a bit cliche because you'll get some people that be like, oh, you know, 6-figure businesses and this and that and
That's
being
money.
successful people. But mentally, it's not what it's cracked up to be. And I know a lot of people that are financially very successful, but mentally very unhappy. So I think it's, you know, hard to shout about success in a financial way if mentally you're not in a happy space and where you're meant to be. So I think, you know, being younger and, you know, my teenage stepsons now are very much like, oh, this person's got a Lamborghini and look how successful he is. And I always say, like, it's not always cracked up to be. Like, you know, your happiness is everything. Like, great if you can financially support yourself and buy all these lovely things. But just being in the presence of, like, my loved ones and around DJ and Vienna and everyone being happy and healthy and being able to go on nice family trips together and just watch sunsets and, like, the real simple things, little experiences is kind of what I live for now. And I think, you know, if I can do enough with my job and my life to be able to do that, that to me is very successful.
Yeah.
So it's
I can feel
all
that.
about
The importance of your family and community is huge, isn't it? And
yeah.
What I'm picking from you there is the journey. There's no destination. It's just enjoying it all the way. Which
I think it takes time for people to realise that you have to go through some traumas, some experiences. You know, I went through a phase, again, a little bit being in the public eye perception of expensive handbags, expensive shoes and buying all these designer things. And it wasn't so long ago I had this big clear out and I was just like, why have I got these things? They don't really mean much to me. I quite like a H&M and I quite like a Matalan and why have I got these expensive things? And it's that social pressure for a lot of people that feel like, oh, I should have this, or you're really cool if you've got this, or you're successful if you've got this. And I thought, it's such a facade. But I had to go through that stage of being young and feeling like that made me important and I could be inclusive if I had these things. It's just not the case.
No.
And I think you have to go through it to
realise that. You do have to go through it. And but that also makes you have good perspective and maturity from going through it. I don't think you can tell anyone before. I've got stories of being guilty of wanting shiny things. And you could not have told me before I got a hold of them that you know, they're not going to mean anything to you. You've got to let them. In fact, people were like, mate, you know. But
and when you think about it, you trade everything that you earn if it meant that you could hold on to a family member longer or experiences longer. And I never remember that time I bought an expensive handbag, how great that was.
Yeah.
But I always remember being in Barbados with my family, sat watching a sunset.
Yeah.
That is what I think it's about, but you can't tell people
It's a feeling. Close your eyes and you're right back there, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
feeling rather than just slinging a bag on you.
Exactly.
And actually, lots of things change through life. The purpose is something that can fluctuate and change. Sitting here right now, what would you say your purpose is?
My purpose? I think it's to educate in not too much of a educational way, which sounds really strange, but bring a little bit of joy, but a little bit of wisdom, and just be myself, because without realising it, you're actually you help a lot of people.
Yeah, you do.
Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you're helping a lot of people without knowing you're helping people, and just me going on my life journey and being authentic about it, whatever's happened to me in the past is always helping someone somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I think it's just...
You're relatable.
My purpose is just to be a good mum, support my family, make sure everybody's happy, have good experiences, and just be the best version of myself, really.
I love that.
Can help other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were sort of talking to a younger version of yourself, my teenage daughters, and looking at you from an aspirational point of view, I'd like to be like Callie and influencing for the good, if you like. What advice would you give right now in 2024?
I would say you're allowed to feel the way you feel. A lot of people think there's a bit of a perception of, how people should handle situations. We're all different human beings, so allow yourself to feel how you feel and think how you're going to handle that situation, or how you would handle a situation from the outside, because we can feel things and then we act on emotion, and sometimes it's good to just feel and just think. That was one thing I would have liked to have educated myself on younger, is just feel a little bit. It's okay to feel that without panicking and thinking your next move straight away, because it's not quite gone how you've wanted it to go. We don't give ourselves enough grace with just taking time. And also I would say, take people off face value. So when they show you something, don't try and make an excuse for them being something else. Or, oh, no, but they didn't mean it like that. Or they just didn't do it like that. Or, make an excuse for other people's behaviour. Somebody shows you a side and your intuition doesn't quite sit well with that or doesn't agree with it. Don't try to ignore your intuition, because it's very, very strong and it's there for a reason. So
That's
I think
great advice.
it's something that people need to clock into a little bit more than just, and I'm guilty of it. Like, I've always been such an empathetic person, I've always tried to see the best in people, and me and DJ speak about it, we've both been the same. Someone will literally show us the worst and we'll still say, oh, but they were just having a bad time. Do you know what I mean? Somebody's murdered somebody, they was on an off day. Like, it's not okay. So just trust your gut and your instinct and how you feel about someone, and if it doesn't align with who you are and your soul, that's not your reciprocated energy.
I love
it won't serve you well, so yeah.
So many people live in fear of being judged, and you put yourself out there on your socials. You're just you. It's the real common denominator of the conversation is authenticity. Some people won't do that because they're afraid of being judged or getting hateful comments. How do you manage that?
I think there's a fine line of being yourself and authentic, but still being, like I said, as an empathetic person, and being aware of other people's feelings. Like, some people can say, put a personality out there or this persona, and it can come across quite strong and quite hard-headed. And I think you can be yourself and be authentic and have an opinion, but sometimes it's how people deliver those opinions that I think cannot be perceived well. So people might get social media hate because they've come in that's come across a bit more of an attack or something like that, and they'll just say, well, I'm just being myself and that's what I think and that's my opinion, and that's cool, and you can have an opinion, but it's how you sometimes deliver that opinion that I think is how you received.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Explain that well.
Yeah.
Callie, I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah,
You're
me
a pleasure
too.
to talk
Fun.
with. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.